Hi everyone, welcome to Criminals and Cocktails. My name's Ellis.
I'm Greg.
I'm Chris.
And today we are back with another great murder mystery.
And this one I'm actually excited about.
Yeah, because it's really not a mystery.
As all the other ones were not exciting.
But his last one wasn't,
I would say that this guy is like multi-level criminal type that just ended in murder. So today we're going to be talking about the Murdaugh. I said it wrong, didn't I? Murdaugh family murders that happened in South Carolina.
Ooh, my home state, South Carolina.
Like, I can remember
I know, right?
when this like originally broke it, and I was working, I think I was working from home, or maybe I wasn't even working.
It was during COVID.
Yeah, and like I was thinking, why are we talking about this like random family? It randomly came up about this guy in South Carolina. He thinks something's happening, and then he killed his wife. And I was like, why is this? And then they started telling the story.
Keep in mind, this was during COVID, but I will guarantee you most everybody who's familiar with Alex Murdaugh was familiar with the murders. But there's so much more there.
Right.
He was known as the hometown lawyer, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Oh, first of all, he came
He was
from,
like the local celebrity or something.
he was fourth generation dynasty. So his great-grandfather, starting in 1920, was the prosecutor, or what they call solicitor in South Carolina. Solicitor is a chief prosecutor in most other states. His great-grandfather was the chief prosecutor. His grandfather's father was the chief prosecutor. His father was a chief prosecutor. When you look at that, people knew him.
Basically, like his family was the law.
And you got to remember, and I'll share, I did come from South Carolina, and I came from a smaller town in South Carolina, not a small town, but a smaller town.
Okay.
And I know, living at the beach, how the solicitors work. Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, honestly, I probably should say, I have had, well, they're all dead now. I have had solicitors from Myrtle Beach call on my behalf for things that they really shouldn't have, because I didn't file a complaint or a suit or whatever, but they just knew our family. So they would call and say, you know what, we're right on some cages. That's kind of the way this works. Mm-hmm. And in their town, they were the big gun.
Right.
For 103 years before his conviction, it was them.
Basically, they had like a small town dynasty.
They did.
I mean, literally, everybody knew them, and then they knew not to mess with them.
And now you kind of have to question the whole dynasty.
Well, I mean, they said that they were known, that family name, that they were above the law because they were the law.
They were the law.
Quick question, though. Do we think it started with Alex Murdaugh?
That's what that was my earlier comment. Yeah. Now you have to, if you look back at all of the reports, I haven't seen any that said any of his ancestors were ever charged with wrongdoing or suspected of wrongdoing. Doesn't mean they didn't.
But there was any suspect of the dad or the grandpa that he like had killed somebody.
But that was more like an urban legend. You don't know if it's true or not.
Right. But the thing
there's a lot of twists and turns in these.
But I will say the thing is with that family, it was, I have to say this, they probably did. That whole generation was probably just as bad, right?
Possibly.
As what we see now in this generation. They were smarter, cleaner, and not as messy.
Well, I will say also they didn't have things like the internet and DNA and all of the other things that come into play.
Yeah, like where they could
electronic records
was, when the phone did.
Microencoding.
There's a lot more.
When you go back to the 20s, there's...
Let's just say they were probably, and in their time, with the things that they had available to them, they were a lot more classy. They were not as messy. and not as careless.
That's true. And I think careless is a really good word here, along with desperate.
Alex developed a godlike complex. That's how I look at it.
I agree.
He thought he was untouchable because of who he was,
Right.
where he was, and the people that he knew.
And the
And he
power
thought he
that
could pick
had.
up the phone and solve any problem without issue. And he had already done that, as we'll see, because as Ellis is trying to get us into a starting place, you'll find that wherever we start isn't the start. It's just one more on-ramp. So where do we want to start? Do we want to start with the Moselle murders?
So we want to start with the boat crash. They were going to a bar one night.
And so everybody knows, this is Paul Murdaugh. This is Paul.
Paul, or
the
who
younger-
they call Paw.
Yeah, and he was the youngest of the two sons.
That is correct.
And he was 19, I think, at the time of the crash or
Unspoiled.
something, 18, 19. He was very much that privileged white youth.
Exactly. They were going and went to a bar one night with all of his friends, and let's just say they shouldn't have been driving or in the boat, and they left the bar, and then they had a big crash because Paul was telling all his friends he wanted to drive, drove the boat, hit a pillar, and then he threw one of the people that were in the boat off
Mallory Beach.
Mallory Beach.
Well, he didn't throw her off the
The boat
crash.
did, of course. The crash did. And of course, what instantly happens is he calls the grandpa, the mom, and the dad, right? In this one case, right, that killed this very young, beautiful girl, took her out of her life, kind of just went away.
They swept it all under the rug.
The grandpa, the father, because his name was Murdaugh.
But essentially, this young girl lost her life. And one of Paul's best friends, who was Mallory's boyfriend, and if you've seen any of the interviews with him, I mean, he's a completely changed person from this. This was not we went and had fun and some bad thing happened. He's completely changed.
Right.
And this boat incident completely changed the lives of a lot of people.
Bro, you fucking smiling like it's fucking funny. Sit down, sit down. My fucking girlfriend's gone, bro. You think it's fucking funny?
Sit down, sit down.
Hope is right fucking hell.
But not Paul Murdaugh.
Right.
And that's my thing is Paul didn't change.
Well,
And Alex did.
finish your statement. He changed. In what way? Tell me what you mean by he changed.
So first of all, he was no longer friends with Paul. He felt like Paul really, he even told the police there, and there's video of this, where he's like, that's the guy you need to go talk to. And he said, but you can't touch him because he's Alex Murdaugh's son.
Well, he said, Alex Murdaugh? And they're like, yeah, well, that's his son. And he says, good luck.
Good luck. You're not going to get anything. Okay, but you know me, I'm matter of fact about everything. This is, to me, kind of the, it's all fun and games until somebody loses an eye. They didn't mind that their Murdaugh name gave them prestige to hang around Paul. They didn't mind that Paul could get alcohol underage. They didn't mind all of this other stuff until
The party and
something bad happened to them. And so I'm not,
Boy, does that not sound like politics today?
well, but I'm not saying that to be judgmental of any of the players. This is 18, 19, 20-year-olds pretty much anywhere, especially in a place where they're white privileged, is those bad things really don't happen to you. And so you don't really care as long as it doesn't bother me. And honestly, yeah, it's kind of like politics. As long as they're not hurting me, I'm just going to let you go.
You remember that song? Karma, 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 karma.
Yeah.
I mean, they were searching for her forever. They went to
took
the
like 3 or 4
hospital.
days.
The grandpa came, the dad and the mom came, and they came into the room telling them what to say, how to say it, doing exactly right what they
Damage
knew
control.
they do.
I think there were even reports that, if I remember correctly, that Alex had approached some of the other fathers or some of the other guys that were on the boat saying, well, don't say Paul was driving. Do you know for sure Paul was driving? You had an accident. Maybe you don't know. Maybe it wasn't.
He told the other friend whose name was Connor, and I didn't get his name, but said, well, maybe Connor was driving. Don't you think
Right.
Connor was driving?
Could it have been?
Right.
Because let's face it, he was a polished attorney. He
shady.
won major
Shifty.
lawsuits.
Wasn't there another incident with the boat later?
No.
I thought there was something else.
But
There's a well, the reason why I'm going with the boats because I'm going to paint a picture in reference to what happened. So we have the boat accident. They cover up the boat accident. Basically, the Paul gets basically a slap on the wrist, and he killed this girl. Right, took her away from her family,
Underage
her friends.
drinking.
But they did. So the Beach family did, however, file a civil suit,
Which we're
wrongful
gonna
death,
Get into
and that's a huge blow to this house of cards.
huge blow to the House of Cards.
I'm surprised you started with the boat though, because there's still one big piece starting before the boat.
Where's my timeline broken?
The housekeeper.
Yes.
Who got sick and ended up.
And that was, let me check my timeline. I think that was the year before.
I thought that was after I was
No,
going to
it was exactly 1 year before, February of 2018, Gloria Sutterfield.
You're exactly right. There was a housekeeper that previous to this, she was Paul's direct nanny forever. She called him Paw. There was this incident at the estate.
Yes.
And they said that the nanny fell while she was walking
Over
up
the dog?
steps.
Didn't they say the dog
She was
got her on the
walking up
steps or something?
steps, yeah, and she fell backwards, and she popped her head on the bricks.
Alex, being Alex, walks in and says, "You know what? No problem. I'm insured."
He told the kids of the nanny, and don't worry, your mother has worked for us forever. What I'm going to do is take care of this. I'm an attorney. You just sue me as a homeowner. She worked for us, and I'll get you your money.
So the kids of Gloria Satterfield, after I think 2 or 3 years, and by that time we're into 2021, 2022. So this house of cards is really coming down. They're starting to become more vocal about, wait a second, what happened to all of these millions that we were supposed to get?
They're showing up on the estate, coming to the house, asking him. They're seeing the wife at the grocery store. They're talking to the wife, right? All this time that this is going on in the background, the brother, Buster.
Paul's brother.
Yes.
Not Alex's. Paul's brother,
Not
Buster.
not the dad, because I
Yes,
think the
Buster
grandpa
Murdaugh.
was named Buster. He is quietly being a good person, being in the background,
He's off to college.
but he has their suspect that some gay boy ended up dead on the street corner, on a back road one day, and it's alleged
So
that he had some type of connection to guy.
okay, so you just jump back 3 years more. So let's stop for everybody and kind of lay things out. 4 years before the boat accident, 3 years before the housekeeper died, Stephen Smith was found in the middle of the road. His car was off on the side. It appeared maybe he had run out of gas or something or had car trouble. He was found in the middle of the road. It was quickly sort of hit and run, rode off. There were some rumors that Buster Murdaugh, who was Paul's older brother, Alex's oldest son, might have been involved in that. But of course, things get brushed aside. They never really looked at the death that much, though the mother was adamant that her son was killed.
Exactly.
But that case kind of got closed on its own, unrelated to anything else, in 2016, 2017. So by the time Gloria Satterfield died in 2018, Stephen Smith was a history.
Right.
He was just a footnote somewhere. Gloria Satterfield would have been its own case on its own little thing had it not been all of these threads. So then 2015, Stephen Smith gets killed. 2018, Gloria Satterfield apparently gets killed or has a suspicious death, as we find out. 2019, the boat accident killing Mallory Beach. And then, now I think hopefully we got everybody back up to where we're at.
Right. Then Mr. Alex Murdaugh calls 911 and says that he found his wife, Maggie Murdaugh, and his son, Paul Murdaugh, gunned to death in the dog pens.
At their hunting lodge.
Nope. At
Moselle.
Moselle.
That's the hunting lodge.
That's their house.
It was a hunting lodge.
Okay.
They live there half the year.
Their hunting lodge, that was their home.
Moselle. And that's Paul from the boat accident
Paul from the boat accident.
and Mother Maggie.
That Mallory, he killed Mallory, that her parents at this point had filed a wrongful death suit
Right.
against the Murdaughs, right?
Let's make the complete picture for everyone of the pressure building here. The $4.3 million Satterfield insurance settlement had long been paid to Murdaugh. He just had not given any to her sons. They hadn't seen a dime, and their demands were getting louder. Then you've got the Mallory Beach case. That wrongful death case was tightening too, threatening to expose the cracks in his finances.
There's one more thing. They were she was suspected of filing for divorce from him, and she had all the properties were in her name.
All of the,
That was another.
That's a huge, thank you. That's a huge one. But keep in mind, she already had found out about his opioid use.
Right.
Well, we haven't talked about
And
that.
we have
That was on there as well.
Here's another thing.
And then comes June 2021, the month that everything detonates. On the morning of June 7th, Alex's own firm confronted him about $792,000 in missing fees. This is money he stole from yet another case. 3 days later, on June 10th, he was supposed to go into court, a financial disclosure hearing in the Mallory Beach lawsuit, and that hearing would have forced him to reveal his finances and the truth he'd been hiding for years. The pressure was immense. There was no way out for him. Or was there? Because on the night of June 7th, 2021, Maggie and Paul were shot to death at Moselle, and Alex then calls 911.
He calls and says that he found his wife and his kid shot to death in the dog bins.
Hampton County 911, where's your emergency?
This is Alex Murdaugh at 4147 Moselle Road. I need the police to answer immediately. My wife and child just shot badly.
And then at the beginning of it, when he made the call, and during this, they didn't make any immediate arrests. This is all going on. It's like, I can remember like...
Because of his name. Nobody wanted to do that.
Yeah, I can remember when this was happening. I was like, why are they talking about these people? These are so, like, okay, yeah, the wife and the kid ended up dead. You go straight to the husband because he was there. And then they kept coming up with all these, like, layers and layers and layers.
Matter of fact,
and you're like...
Well, don't forget about all of the lies that they started unraveling and proving that he lied about.
so here's to me, so back to your financial white collar crimes. He actually gets arrested in October of 2021. So 4 months after the murders, he gets arrested, but not for murder, not for suspicion of murder. He gets arrested for financial misconduct.
For insurance fraud.
Right. So he's charged with financial crimes 4 months after the murder. Now, he doesn't even become the main suspect and get indicted for the murders until July of 22. So over a year after the murders. So they got him on financial because remember,
Yeah, but that was
all of this stuff was going
part of
on.
their process.
Well, as they started looking at him and trying to do these pieces together, they're like, wait, we can already get him on this. Let's go ahead and get him in jail.
Right.
Get him off the streets.
And give it time to really put this case together.
Right. I think that's part of it. Now,
And I think that's why we know all what we know, because they were like, let's get him off the streets, because it was fraud related to a stage shooting. And that was when all this is going on.
right. Well,
And he does the whole thing on the side of the street. And
I was getting to
says,
that, but hang on just a second.
That's the
yeah, but hang on. Yeah.
Okay.
So keep in mind, in July, when Maggie and Paul are killed, he's already being hounded by his law partners to address this
The
issue of
money
funds that they can't seem to account. So that's in June. He's already doing that. He was able to use their deaths as a way to say, you know what, I've got a lot on my head. Can we just talk about this later? I'm going to take a few months off.
Great point. Great point.
And do this. In September, the law firm is coming back and saying, you know, as September rolls, we need to figure this out. Now, September 4th, 2021, 3 months after the murder, what happened? That's where you were going next.
He then, after all this has happened, so think the all this going on prior to the wife and the kid are found dead. You know, he's in these financial crimes. He's did all this stuff. He knows what he's going on. So therefore, he claims he was shot in a roadside incident and that somebody shot him and tried to take his car. He called 911 again and went to the hospital, everything. There's this whole big old thing because, like, after this, again, I was like, who are these people? I'm like, why are we talking about this man from South Carolina? And then he shows up again on news. He said, called 911 again, said he was shot by somebody. And then they later found out that he staged it with his cousin. He called Tyrone.
But did his cousin do it? I thought his cousin said he asked him to do it, and he didn't.
He didn't do it.
And didn't Murdaugh shoot himself?
I think he did, but he obviously didn't have the balls to do it all, and he just barely grazed himself. But what's important is, so after all of that comes out, and I remember that hitting the news, because I remember looking and going, that's a cover-up. I mean, that's immediately where my head went. I went, he is trying to
deflect.
Yeah.
So somebody's trying to take him out now. They took out his family. Now they're trying to take him out.
Because he said, I just want to, die and let Buster have all this money. And I'll get that. Didn't work.
I don't think he ever really wanted to die.
I
think he just wanted to make it look like that somebody took out his family and now they're trying to take him out, and that would deflect the
I think
the
that's
suspicious.
You're exactly right, Greg. I think he was trying to deflect because a big thing about what he was saying and what the police were saying is that somebody came in, like, who hated you, who didn't want you to live, and that somebody took your family out, and then he was trying to make that story plausible.
Because if he was going to commit suicide, honestly commit suicide, he would have took pills and called it a day.
Right.
That's
but
not what
I think he was trying to show that, hey, somebody took Maggie and Paul out, and I wasn't there, so they came and get me now.
Why would you have your cousin do it?
Well, the cousin, actually, they didn't even know that until, I think, a couple of days later, when the cousin came up and said, hey, by the way, he solicited me for this.
Mm-hmm.
But back when we started, I said, this is a case of desperation. This is where the desperation hits the pinnacle. He has no other way out. There's nobody being found for the death of his family. There's the financial crimes that are just barking at his feet right now. Mm-hmm. The law firm, he's going to have to resign from that, which when you think about, so let's go back to where we started. 4 generations, dynasty, law, order, judicial in South Carolina.
Power.
These people are known.
Desperate and messy.
But don't forget about the really cool incident with the phones that blew his story completely out of the water about the dog pen.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
And scene. And scene.
Okay, so we took a unexpected break, refilled. Let's catch everybody up really quickly so we can move into the trial.
Magic of TV.
So we have September of 2021 is where we left off. Alex has resigned. He's faked a suicide attempt. He's now being suspected of his wife and son's murder. You've got the Mallory Beach boat death coming down hot and heavy in that lawsuit. Now they're finding out about Gloria Satterfield and what's going on there. And about this same time, you're starting to hear about Stephen Smith again. So all of this is coming up, and that takes us to essentially July of 2022 when he becomes indicted for the murders of Paul and Maggie.
You might want to go through that again.
Thank you. Great timeline. Wrap up, Chris. You were multi-layer, faceted. So much stuff going on.
This. I got paid money for this at one time in my career.
So much going on in this actual story that sometimes you could barely keep up. But it, like, literally, you didn't get all of this the story at once. It was slowly but surely as it uncovered. But yes,
over 2 years, essentially.
July 2022, he's finally formally indicted for the murders of Maggie and Paul.
And to make things clear for the audience, Alex Murdaugh was to that small town's Law and Order as P. Diddy is in the music industry. So kind of compare it to Untouchable to a degree.
Exactly.
We should have done P. Diddy. That would have been a really good case too. Maybe we'll do that.
Lord have mercy. We can't get the Murdaugh in one.
Okay,
Diddy would be like 10
so
years.
let's talk about the two big players. So you've got Dick Harpootlian, who's on the defense. He's actually a former state senator, former prosecutor, and has prosecuted some big names. And then you've got Creighton Waters on the prosecution team. He's leading the prosecution team. He's got a name. He's done some cases. But for most of the folks who are turning into court TV or whatever, they don't know who these two people are. Harpootlian I'm familiar with because, again, I'm from South Carolina, but I'm not familiar with Waters. And I'm watching. Honestly, I was looking at this and looking at the evidence they had, and I said, okay, they've got him dead to rights.
So first of all, we have like our own little group chat that most people do, right? We're texting. Do we have like our all three of us that we're all talking?
Here in the court.
They're in the court.
And we were all glued into court TV. I don't know why. After we found all this stuff, we were talking daily. Did you see this? Are you seeing this right now?
Oh my God! Did you see
Well, it was also during COVID.
You're like,
I know right now.
we were here
right now.
working, and we left it on so we could listen.
Put your TV on right now, on court TV right now. Because the main primary actor, he named all the lawyers, and I didn't even pull them up because you're probably not going to remember them. If you go back and watch court TV, the main primary character was Mr. Alex Murdaugh.
Yes. Oh yeah, he even tried to represent himself, didn't he?
My goodness.
Not to my knowledge, I don't think he
Oh,
did.
he did because he thought he could take the stand, and
I don't know, but he did not. No,
He did take the stand.
he did take the stand, but he didn't represent himself. That's two different things.
Yeah.
but he insisted on taking the stand, even though they told him not to.
Which I was
he
gonna-
thought he could
Yeah,
persuade everybody. To
I was going to get there eventually. but
Eventually, yeah. My boat ran out of gas like 3 hours ago.
Alex saw himself as this really slick lawyer. And in some cases, he was. He won a lot of big personal injury lawsuits and stuff. I mean, so there was a lot of stuff because that area of South Carolina actually does a lot of personal injury law. But he thought, I got this. Dick Harpootlian didn't think so. Creighton Waters certainly didn't think so. But they're going through this.
A snake lawyer.
Harpootlian or
Murdaugh.
Murdaugh? Oh, yeah. Harpootlian is representing Murdaugh, and Waters is chief prosecutor. So I'm watching Waters do his thing, and I think it's really interesting. But there's a couple of places he gets stuck, and he just really, really digs in and really wants to prove what appears to be a minor point. And he does that several times, and I'm watching him going, dude, you've got him to rights. Shut the hell up. You're going to freaking lose the case because you're going to go so far out that people are going to be like, So
less is more.
Less is more. Harpootlian actually took that and ran with it and tried to, and if you look, there were so many things. So first of all, they were shot with two different guns, right? Mm-hmm. Paul was shot with one type of rifle, Maggie with another type of
They were
rifle.
trying to say there were two people that were there.
Right.
Like one time they said reloaded or something. It appeared they reloaded.
Reloaded or they
switched rifles.
That was in the end. That's the way the prosecution said he shot, and then he put the rifle down, and then heard Maggie and picked up a different rifle that was over there to get her, or maybe he ran out of.
So the jury out to the site.
They did. They took him to Moselle.
That was kind of out of the ordinary.
It was, and
not all the time. They will take them if they request.
If they request it and there's a reason, the judge will grant it. I think the judge granted in this case because you really needed to see the layout. Because it is a hunting lodge. When people talk about, the dog pens, you're thinking in the backyard. These weren't in the backyard. These were down the trail.
And then how his phone conveniently went out until it came back on, and it was he was. This was planned.
He had a whole digital tutorial about how when the murders happened that he was in the house, and that then he decided
He
to
was
go
napping.
to see his. Then he woke up and decided to go see his mother, and then the house lady that
Was it his mother or his father? That he went to
his
see?
mother, because the house lady that took care of his mother
Was
he had
there.
paid for the wedding or something. She was getting married or something, and was like
Remember, he ran upstairs and hid something in the closet.
tried to
He
make
did,
sure that
but he said he went and spent time with his father. So I was there for, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and it's a 15, 20-minute drive each way. And, so I couldn't have done it. But the housekeeper or the nurse or whoever she was said, well, he stopped at the end of the road. Then he came up carrying something, took it upstairs, did not bring it back down, and only stayed a minute, which was in complete contradiction to what Murdaugh was saying. So essentially she said, yeah, he was here like 5 to 7 minutes.
right. The timelines did not match up. The pings weren't right, and the times that he had given about where he was and the time that he got back and then found out and discovered the bodies.
Didn't he say he had called Maggie before he left the house and she didn't answer, so they
He
just
had
assumed?
called him or something.
Well, I thought, took a nap, according to him. He took a nap, so his phone kind of stayed there, and then he went off to his... But when you look at the Moselle property, the way you go out adjacent to where the dog kennels are.
And it appears that it was like a one-way in type of driveway.
It is. You go in, and then you go... So if you come from the road, you go in. Then you veer off to the left to go to Moselle, and off to the right front goes to the dog kennels and the hunting grounds and stuff like that.
Right, because they were in the golf carts or the Polarises.
Right.
That took them out there.
And so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I'm Alex. I wake up from a nap. I call my wife. She's not answering. So I'm literally going to drive within 100 feet of her and just go on and not just stop to say, hey, are you okay? Oh, by the way, I'm going to go here. Two things in my mind that got him dead to rights. One, Mercedes put his SUV at the dog kennels at the time of the murder.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who don't realize it, a lot of cars now have navigation. Well, part of that navigation is you need to know where the car's at in order to do the navigation. So they were able to, it took them several weeks. I don't think they even got that information until 3 or 4 weeks into the trial.
Thing, what was your second?
The second was, well, you started down the path. The second,
Pawpaw's phone that
Pawpaw's
he had
phone.
recorded a video on, they finally were able to get into.
yeah, so
They recovered the phone.
keep in mind, Alex was adamant. I was not at the kennels any time until I found them dead at 9:30 or whatever it was. I was
Then-
never there.
Surprise, surprise, surprise.
Well, and it took them a long time to get into Paul's phone. I don't think they got into Paul's phone until well into the trial. And then suddenly, here's a video that Paul said right before he was killed.
Like to one of his friends or something.
Yeah, it was something about the dog had
Was barking or something.
he had a
and he
health issue or
to the
something.
vet.
And who did they hear on that video?
They heard the distinctive voice of Alex Murdaugh.
Which was literally that video. They timed it, I think, was 5 minutes before the murder or something.
Right, it was timestamped, of course.
So let me get
And for
this
kicks
straight.
and giggles, tell the audience what Murdaugh said about that.
I don't even remember what he said about that. Just that it was probably earlier or something. But
What did he say?
I don't know, I'm asking.
so
I'm like, do you remember that specifically? I'm
So,
like,
yeah,
I don't
that's-
remember that specifically. He lied a lot.
I don't know. I thought I'd make it more interesting for everybody watching.
So you've got the prosecutor going, okay, so hang on a second.
I thought that's what he started saying. He was taking the drugs and maybe he forgot.
Probably.
He did say something like that. And he forgot, but he had left.
He did
still claimed that he had left.
I think he made the mention.
Yeah,
that
that's
he
right.
had
I
lied
did, but I left. Okay. So you left, and 3 minutes after you left, somebody shot him. And you didn't hear that?
I like my music loud.
No. So as the prosecutor, and kudos to Creighton Waters for this, but you sit there and go, okay, so hang on. Mercedes put your vehicle there at the time of the murder. I have a video of you clearly there 5 minutes before the murders. And then I show your truck leaving like 2 minutes after the murders, but you weren't there. So, I mean, as you said earlier, Alex said, no problem. I got this. Just put me on the stand. I'll clear this all up. Okay, famous last words. But how you go clear this up?
He had a hot ass mess going on.
Well, and so even with Maggie's phone. So when you look at, okay, so coming out of Moselle, I think you had to take a left out. That's where they found Maggie's phone. Okay, so you're sitting here 3 minutes before the murders, and you're going to pass right by where those people are at because Maggie's phone's there. But you didn't hear a shot. You didn't see anybody. No cars. How'd they get there? I don't think there's anything Alex could have said to get himself out of that.
Yeah. I just remember he was lying so much.
Motive.
Revisit.
There's huge.
Watch the first 15 minutes of this podcast. There's your motive. Satterfield, that allegation.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of it was that, you know, his boy Paul was basically pulling him underwater with all the shit that he was doing. And he was going to eliminate him.
He was one more anchor.
Maggie going to leave him. Let's get rid of her.
Speak it into
I can use this to clean up this whole mess. But even at the end.
Well, they were less of a problem.
But even at the
dead.
end, Buster is now being looked at more closely for the murder.
He
What
actually just
happened with
moved.
that?
He just moved.
For the murder of Steve. What happened to that?
They just brushed it off.
They brushed it off because they don't have enough evidence.
It
for
really
that.
didn't go anywhere.
Well, so first of all,
But
they
did
reopened
suspect
it.
him
They
of having
reopened the case.
like some kind of a relationship with this
Fair
kid?
with that boy.
Yeah,
Yes.
they reopened the case in 2023, and it's still open. So here's okay. Let's talk about that because I want to talk a little bit about some of this other stuff. But so this is a really big deal. The reason that case was reopened was because of evidence that was found during the investigation of Paul and Maggie's murder. SLED has never revealed what they found that led them to reopen that case. But it had to be something decent because, as we've talked about before, you don't just reopen a case for...
I have a suspicion.
What?
It was something on the Paul's phone
Possibly.
that probably linked it back to that boy actually having some kind of relationship with him or having an affair.
But they have never, ever, ever. They just said, we found information that's causing us to open this up, but they never said what it was. And to this day, they've never, I went out, I checked, they've never said what it was. That's interesting. I want to talk a little bit about some of the possible alternative theories. So
please talk about those.
we had the whole Mallory Beach. Oh, this was something against Paul. Maggie just got it mixed up in it. They were after Paul because of that. That was I think that's where Murdaugh may have started. Well, it was probably something tied to Paul, because Paul's had that. There was talk about, was it drug related because of Alex? Was it a drug deal gone bad? Did he not pay somebody? What's going on with that?
Right. Because he had tons of pills.
And we talked a little bit about the two-shooter theory, and the defense kept driving that home. 2 guns were used. That means it was 2 killers. No, not really. That means 2 guns were used. And if you're a really good prosecutor, you would know that would put enough doubt in. I honestly think he thought that through and said, I need to use 2 guns. I know Waters said it likely was just a spur of the moment. I think they said maybe the one gun got jammed, so he picked up the other one or something. There was something, but I honestly think he may have thought through that. With, as you said, his influence over the law, the financial crimes, the good old boy system, which coming from South Carolina, I know the good old boy system. I have benefited from the good old boy system.
I'm a white boy.
And
just get through.
But that superpower, white male.
I got that privilege card.
Now, here's what's interesting. The financial crimes, those cases are still ongoing. They're not done. They're scheduled to go on through this year. So we have not heard the last of that yet.
But, I mean, yeah, they could do that and they can waste their time in reference to those crimes. But, in 2023, he was sentenced to 2 consecutive life sentences without parole. So
Yes,
they
he was.
really don't care.
Well, they do. They do.
I mean, they're legal precedents to say that somebody did this thing and we sentenced him to this, but he's going to spend the rest
There
of
are
his life.
financial repercussions that could be dealt with that these other people that should have got money didn't get.
Possibly.
They
but
can get money
you
out of it.
guys are missing something that has kind of happened off the radar, but is ongoing
appealing.
right at this moment.
He's appealing.
Not even the appealing. In December of 24, they did file an appeal, but they claimed there was jury tampering and the trial was unfair. In August of 25, the state filed its 182-page response. In November of 2025, all of the final briefs were submitted to the South Carolina Supreme Court, and they are currently taking it under advisement. We do not have a decision on that yet. They could come back and overturn his conviction if they find that there is evidence that there was jury tampering.
But even the judge at the end of it said, I'm going to read this verbatim to make sure that there is no possible mistrial here.
But it says that he pleads, well, my information and my research says he pled some of those charges in federal court to fraud and money laundering.
Oh, he pleaded to those. I'm talking about the murder. This is the murder case. The murder case, he's saying, that is sitting in front of the South Carolina Supreme Court right now.
They gave him 27 years on top of what he had.
Yeah. And so, but that he can always
So they're
get
trying
out
to,
early.
they're trying to say mistrial.
They're trying to get a mistrial out of this so that they can go do this all again.
Because there's a whole big old thing with the court reporter.
I think it was a court reporter that knew somebody or
Knew
something.
him and that didn't like him, and it was known that she didn't like him, and that they reported the wrong thing.
Now let's really quickly go back to the Mallory Beach case. Let's wrap that one up nicely. So in the settlement, she got $500,000 from Alex himself. She got $602,000 from Maggie's estate, which also included her Mercedes. So that was $602,000. In total, because they also went after Parker's Kitchen, who sold the alcohol, and I think they may have went after the bar as well, but they got a total settlement of $15 million off of her death, which, I'm sorry, that does not pay for losing a loved one. Mallory Beach, the one that was thrown from the boat.
From the boat.
But they have seen their justice in that Paul's dead, and they've got $15 million, and that's pretty much all they're going to get. They can't do anything else to Paul. He's dead.
Let's not say that they got their justice from his death. Let's start that argument.
Well,
But I'm just saying, there's nothing else they can get.
justice was served based on what,
They could say, well, let's go try Paul. He's dead. He's in the ground. They're not going to do that. So that's
not gonna
as
get
close to
anything
get.
from him anymore.
That's as close to justice as they're going to get.
Absolutely. Let's talk about our closing thoughts.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for wrapping up. Chris, if you could start and you have a timer and go. No, I'm just kidding with you.
Hang on, let me get my notes out. So I think one of the interesting things about this for me is that it did happen in South Carolina. It didn't happen in the area I lived, but South Carolina is kind of a small state and it's almost like your neighborhood. But so that was interesting. But I think what I found really compelling was what started out as a murder investigation ended up spawning into over 100 financial crimes, a botched suicide attempt, the boat accident, the Satterfield case. And honestly, I don't think they've uncovered everything yet. I would not be surprised if they don't uncover even more. This is a case where his house of cards was built so intricately, but it only took, I think, one thing to bring it all down, and that was the boat incident. Because when you think about the boat incident, they started to do the legal suits. Now there's financial discovery. I'm already being suspected. And if I sit there and go, yeah, I've got $5 million that I can't really tie to any of my income, and my law firm's already starting to look, what's going on? I think that was going to expose him. That was happening at the time of the murders. That's why he killed them both. I hesitate to say that he did it. I think he wanted to get rid of Paul because Paul was an anchor. I think he needed to get rid of Maggie because either she knew something or she was going to leave him, and he couldn't have that. And I mean, it's sad that these two people got shot down by the person that's supposed to love and protect them. But I said this about Bernie. That goes to show that power and money meant more to him.
Mm-hmm.
And I have absolutely zero sympathy for Alex Murdaugh, because everything he's getting right now is in direct correlation to things he's done, choices he's made. And you can blame the drugs on it if you want, but guess what? That's yours too. So I don't think there really is a reason for him.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Greg?
Oh, we still doing closing statements? I'm sorry.
Let me go to page 2.
This happened in a very small town by one individual that had money and power that was considered huge, like a small fish in a big pond versus a big fish in a small pond. I feel like that's what he was. He was a big fish in a small pond, which goes to show you that money and power can cover up a lot of illegal activity. And what's scary to me is we have to take a step back and look at this on a much different, broader level. We have people that are in very high power position globally. And if you think that this isn't happening in those situations, you're fooling yourself. And we live in a very, very dangerous time where people can do things that most people with morals would consider unethical and never even attempt. But these individuals feel they have a privilege to do whatever they want to do to whoever they want to do it to, and there's nothing that can touch them. There's nobody that can do anything about it. They have the power and the money to just make it all go away. And that is very scary, and that is the day that we're living in. And it's nice to see these small pockets of corrupt individuals getting taken down. But there's a bigger picture out there that I think a lot of people are just overlooking. That's it.
Did we go into the next case?
Absolutely.
Did I doze off?
You know, those are great to call out. Yeah, there's really no sympathy in reference to what he did and how they did it. It was all about the power, and he looked at the power and the money over the people that you should value the most, right? The people you wake up to every day, and they don't care about how much money you have. And then it is great. It's a good thing to see or know. We should wake up and see that this was like small town. This is small potatoes in retrospect, right? But you do have to think about this in these bigger, they weren't making billions of dollars. They're in a small town, probably making worth millions. And it's probably going on even higher, right? In a ton of other areas that we don't see because of how much money they have and power that they have to cover it up. So I must agree with both of them. But this has been Criminals and Cocktails with Alex Murdaugh. And we are signing off for the night. Have a great day.
Bye, guys. Until next time.
Cheers.
Buy me something.